Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm on for my next video for my design team project for Whichcraft Do You Do for January. And this time I am using the Spool Labels Set One, which are these beautiful labels. So there's a couple of things that I want to try with these. Firstly, I want to use this sewing pattern that I've got underneath. Now, I will link the Whichcraft Do You Do shop down below, and I'll also have a link to this digital if you'd like to go straight to that. It is absolutely beautiful. So I have chopped them all out ready to go. And I have this sewing pattern. Now I have heaps and heaps of sewing patterns and I love using the instructions and the covers to make ephemera, but you get left with a lot of the tissue paper, so I'm always looking for ideas to use up the tissue paper. So I thought we'd try making some little envelopes with these today. So what I'm doing is just cutting a bit out, and it's double thickness here. Just put this away so you can make heaps of these out of each pattern. So as you can see, it's two pieces. So what I'm going to do is just carefully stick these pieces together just to make it a little more sturdy. So I'm just lightly putting some stick glue on. And then putting these two pieces together. You may have little areas where the stick glue shows through, hence why you want to be quite light with it. I am going to try sewing around these afterwards, and that will ensure that they stay together. But I don't want heavy glue on these. You can use PVA or something that will just make them stiff, but I still want this nice, it's almost like fabric feel that you get with your sewing patterns. Hence why I'm just using the stick glue. So that's what we end up with. There are a few bits where the glue is coming through, but it's not so bad if you just use it lightly. And we get some creases in that, but I don't mind that. It's a bit like using napkin. Okay, now I did cut a few of these out last night, which I will show you. Just move my little ladies and numbers. So these are my little envelopes so far. So I did not do these to any particular measurements. You can do them as big or small as you like. You can do little square ones or whatever. So I ended up just using my cutting board here and the lines on that to try and get my edges and that a bit straight. So I will do that again here. So I just got a ruler and a pen. Lined it up with lines on the board. And then just cut those out. So here we've got a rectangle ready to make our envelope. So very simple. So now we've just got to decide how we want to fold it up and which side we want the inside and which we want the outside. Doesn't really matter. Kind of like the look of this. So we might make it like that. So as you can see with these ones, I leave a little area there so that when we open up, there's a bit more room to be able to squeeze items in. So we'll do the same with these ones. So maybe we'll go something like this. Something like that. Can always change it if you don't like it. Okay. That top bit is crooked. So even with a ruler, I get it crooked. And then I just taper off these top bits just a little bit. I just like the way it looks. Like so. So that's the basis of our envelope. Now, make sure I've got that. Yep, that looks all right. And if you find that there's some overhang here of this underneath piece, you can just trim them down as well. So that's it, very, very easy. But I think they make neat little envelopes, and having them double thickness makes them a little bit stronger as well. So I have these 3 envelopes that I've made. So what I want to do, basically, I want to use my little spool as my little closure piece. So, because I think they'll work really well. They are on, it's sort of thickish paper. Usually you'd use something a little more sturdy, but because it's very lightweight tissue paper, it tucks in there quite nicely, and I think that looks really sweet. So that's what we'll be doing, is using them as our closures for this project. So I'm just going to lightly embellish the front and put the closure on, sew around them, and then we should have a beautiful embellished little envelope that we can put into our sewing journals. So for those, I have cut out some little ladies. Now these little ladies came from this front page of a magazine pattern, a Woman's Weekly magazine pattern. So I just fussy cut them. So they're going to go on the fronts. So I'll just put them to the side. I also have a couple of numbers that came off of the packaging of patterns. Actually, I think they came off the instruction sheets from your patterns. So now I've got a few of them lying around here, so I'll just try and find those now. There and there. I do also have my laces. And what I haven't used yet is some of my, I've got a jar here with your vintage tapes, measuring tapes. I'd like to use some of that as well. So that's what we're going to do. So let's do some embellishing. But first, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my sewing. Okay, so I ended up just sewing this bit here that goes across there for now. Just along there. And I just left the threads hanging for the moment. Now, I did try zigzag, but that, of course, pulls the edges a bit too much and it just all crunched up, so I had to cut this a bit shorter to fix that. So I'm just going straight stitch on this material and going slow and steady, and that seems to be working okay. And it looks nice. So I've used a pink thread for this one. Now, I've only done this one, and I will embellish it a little, then I can finish sewing this, then I'll change the thread out because I'm doing different colours for these. So the next thing I want to do is grab my pink Where is it? I've got some pink. I'm lucky that I've got almost every colour in tape measure that I want for this project. And I have this pink, but I had done another one. Here it is. I have this piece. I might use this because I've just got a bit of it here. And I wanted to put this across the bottom. Where was I going to have this? Up there. Wouldn't hurt. Yeah, and then we can sew this on and that'll hold it on a bit better as well. So what I'll do is cut a bit of this off. My son is out cooking dinner for me at the moment, so I'm looking forward to that. So that will be like that. And then this goes that way. So I'll cut a piece of this off to go there. I've got so much stuff all over my desk. I was going to pack it up nice and neat before I started the video, but it's so much work to pack it all up, and then it just ends up everywhere again as I'm doing this, so what's the point? Yeah. So I'm going to stick my lace down. Just with a little bit of overhang, I think. Now I'm going to have to be careful. I think I'll open it up, or else the glue will go through the other side, I think. All right, now a tape measure. I want that over that side. So I think for that I will use my Helmar's glue. I'm going to let that now dry, and then I can go to the sewing machine and I can stitch around there, and I can stitch my envelope closed. So I'll be stitching all around there. Okay, so here is my envelope. As you can see, this corner did tuck and buckle a bit as I was sewing around it, but that's all right. Tissue paper has all these imperfections in it anyway, so I don't mind that. So, and the sewing along the bottom helps reinforce the bottom part of the sewing paper too, for when you want to put things in and out of your envelope. And then that's that side. I think that looks really nice just like that, actually. Beautiful. So now we do want to embellish it a little bit. So we want to put our lady on. She looks all right over there too. And our number. I might put her over that side because I kind of like her over there on this one. And I can do what I want, can't I? So, just debating what to stick her on with. Because we don't want the glue to go right through, do we? Though we could always put something in there to stop it going right through. I'll get my tacky glue, I think. And just a bit of my greaseproof paper. And I'll just slip that in. Just make the bottom a bit straight. Put that in our envelope. Oops. It is quite wet. I'll spread it out with my finger if I want. Oh, it's definitely tacky, that stuff. Oh, now that's coming through her. Yeah, I should have used my stick glue probably, but even that might come through a bit. I think that's going to ruin her, and that's a shame because we only had the 4 pictures. See how that dries up. It's a dilemma, isn't it? She was my favourite picture too. The rest of them I have to chop their legs off. She's going to stand. See, because they're all a bit big otherwise. So what I'll probably do is cut the legs off. All right, looks like we'll go this lady and try sticky glue. Oh well, we learn. All right, take 2. Let's see how we go with this. Even this goes through stuff. So put that about there. That's a bit better. Won't press down on her too much yet. I don't think it's going to dry, so you can see she's got a dirty face there. Gonna have to cut out another picture now if I'm going to do 4 envelopes. But that's all right, that's sticking quite well now. All right. So the next thing I want to do is my number. So I might use this one. And I found some scrap fabric, so I might put that underneath. So now I'm debating how I'm going to stick this on. Half tempted to try double-sided tape for this. So I don't know how well that would stick to fabric. Let's have a look. Don't want to ruin everything. Oh, that sticks pretty good. Who would have thunk? So that's what we're going to do there. Rubbish bin. Now, do I want to ink around this number? want a little closure. So what I want to know is whether I use a big one. I think the medium-sized ones would be best for this. So I want a pink one. And I think I will ink around that with black. Just take the wide edges off. Now, as I said, you could make this a bit thicker, but because the tissue paper is very thin, it doesn't need to be thicker. This will hold it quite well. So we just want to stick down this bottom part so that we can stick our top flap under there. So I think about there would be nice, and that looks beautiful. You could always layer that with some fabric or something, or lace or something too. Let me see what I've got. Don't know if I want to, because we already have so much on here. A bit of fabric actually looks nice. So in that case, we can stick a label to the fabric. Then we'll stick a greaseproof paper in. So we'll let that dry with the greaseproof paper in, just so that our envelope doesn't stick all together. I think that's sweet. You could put a label there. I might find something that I like to put there in the future, or some stamping or something, but I haven't found something that I definitely want there just yet, so I'm going to leave it blank. So I will have to find another lady for my 4th envelope now, because, hang on. Oh, looky, her face isn't looking so dirty. She might have recovered. I might actually be able to use her. So that's great to know. That's good glue, that is. I don't think she's too bad. So I will use her, so that's good. So I could have possibly stuck her on, but yes, I think I'll stick to the stick glue, because that is holding quite well for that paper. So I love that. That's turned out really nice. So I do have another project that I want to do. Well, they're more experiments than projects, really, because I have no idea how they're going to turn out, with our little spool labels. So what I will do is get on and show you the next project, and I'll just do one of them like I did with the envelope, and then I'll go off camera and finish off the other 3. And I'll come back at the end and show you how they all turned out. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is use these little spool labels. So I've got one in each of the colours here. And I want to do a bit of die cutting. So what I have done is found some of my cardstock. I hoard my cardstock because I tend to go for book pages and scraps instead. So I thought, why not drag out some cardstock? So I've got some cream and pink and blue and green, because that's the colours that we've got on our labels. And my laces and the other bits and pieces I'm using. And I've stuck some of the scraps of the tissue paper from the fabric pattern onto these to die cut. And the dies I have are these spool ones. So I want to do a medium-sized and a small spool out of the tissue paper. I know I'm definitely going to use this one to make a tag. And I'm going to cut out one of these, and I'm not sure if I'll use it in this project or not, but while I'm at it, I'll cut out one of those. Just why not? And now this little, it's like a little round tag. It fits these perfectly in there. And I do want a hole in these to hang them. So what I'm going to do is back these onto the cardstock. and then die cut them out. And that will give me the little hole to dangle them with. It'll also add the embossed stitching around it as well. Yeah, so we'll see how that turns out. So we'll give that a go. So I will get to sticking these down onto my cardstock, and then I've got to start die cutting. So I should have done this beforehand, but I didn't think to do that, so I will do it now. Now what I think I might do is stick my dies down so they don't shift around since I'm doing multiple. So I've got my washi tape here. So I just put the die on where I think it might look good. Not that it really matters, but I've tried to get a bit of pattern. So I've got some lines here or some writing on the spools. And then we'll put the smaller one on here. And then I've got to figure out where I want the hole for this. Do I want it up there blocking the T, or do I want it where it's sort of blank? Might as well put it up there. So that looks pretty good. So what I might do is grab another couple of dies and just put them in these spots here. Why not, rather than having all this wasted area. And I'll run it through the Big Shot, and then I'll come back and show you what we've got. And then I'll rinse and repeat with the other pieces of cardstock as well. So I finished the die cutting. So we have 4 of our tags here, the different colours. So they can be written on the back. They make great tags, these spools. I mean, you can use them as spools too, which is wonderful. So they've turned out really nicely. The pattern paper really dullens the colour down, makes them nice and vintage-like. And I used a spare die on some of the paper and just cut out these pockets. So I'll put them aside for another project, or I'll find a use for them in this one. Now these are the little labels that I used for the spools. So that's given me the nice hole in there. Now they were just a bit off size. So as you can see, I didn't get them perfectly centered, and there's a bit of a ridge around the outside. So I have been going along and just trimming the excess off. So they're a bit rough, but that's my cutting more than anything. So they've turned out really cute. And then we've got my little mini spools, which I might use elsewhere in the journal, so I'll put them to the side as well. Okay, so I'm just going to work on one of these. So I'll do the pink one for now. So I'm keeping them simple, so just a bulb pin through there. And then I'm going to do a bit of my fabric, so in keeping with the similar fabrics and laces. That way they'll go with the other bits and pieces that I've used. So I've just got offcuts that I used for my previous pieces. I'm just going to pin them on there. I might move them around, I'll just see how it looks. And then my little spool label, yep, I'm going to have to layer them up a bit better, so we will centre this. I can get it on all right. Oh yeah, that hangs out nicely. And then put that on. And then I'll just shift the fabric over like that. There's a cute little embellishment. So what I might do is go, because I've got to finish off the envelopes. So far we've got a pink tag and a pink envelope. So I'm going to go off camera, finish off my other envelopes and tags, and I'll come back and show you what I've finished up with. So I've finished my envelopes and my tags. So I'll show you the tags first. So this is the blue one. So the backs are just plain. I can always add some plain paper or something if I want there to make them look a little more vintage, or some stamping. Could even stamp just one of my sewing themed stamps on the back. And I just left them plain on the front. I quite like them. I think that's enough decoration there. So, and I like the sewing pattern on there. So I just used some scrap material and some of my lace. And then the beautiful spool as a dangle, spool label. So that's the blue one. There's my pink one. And that's the vintage style cream one. And the green one. So you could slip them into tuck spots and just have the lace and that hanging out. So I think they're really nice. Just a little writing spot. And then the envelopes. So there's the pink one that we made together. And of course there's our spool label on the back, and that holds them closed very nicely. So you can just pull that out and you can slip something in there, journaling card or a piece of paper, and then just close them again. And I just put some scrap fabric underneath the labels. So I love the way they turned out. And the sewing went quite well, actually. It was just the catching around the corners, but I got a bit better at that as I went and didn't make too much of a mess of it. So, but definitely easier with the straight stitch. I really love these. They feel beautiful. So yes, I can always add a label or some stamping there if I want to when I put them in the journals. It's a vintage style one. I love the spools. They've been so much fun to work with. There's so many things you can do with them. So I'd like to decorate some spools or even make some for my fabric strips to store them. And there's the blue one. Really pretty. Didn't have a wide enough piece of the same fabric that I used on the front, so I just used a scrap. In a piece there. So that was heaps of fun. Initially I was going to make clusters with these spool labels, but I always set out with an idea in mind and then do something completely different. So, but that's all right. I suppose that's what creating is. Just going with the flow, seeing what comes to mind. So heaps happy with that. That was heaps of fun. I think they'll go nicely with the cards that I made last time. So I still have a couple of projects left to do, so I better get on with it because I've only got a few days left in the month. So I have the button cards and I have the fabric labels still left to play around with. So that's going to be heaps of fun. So I must hunt around for some bits and pieces and get going with those. So I'll see you again in a few days, and if you're interested in the spool label kit, then check out the link below, and also the link to Whichcraft Do You Do's shop as well. So take care, be good, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.